These are four books that have made me a better leader, and I'm going to go over how to change my life today. So, these aren't your typical leadership book takeaways. In this video, I break down the four books that literally have hit me in the gut, helped me level up in business, my relationships, self discipline. And I'm going to share some real stories where I had to actually apply them. If you're a high performer, ready to take the handbrake off, then this is going to be for you. So let's get straight into it. Most people think that leadership is about power, ego, being the loudest in the room. For me, this year has been about one word, and that word is rangatira, which means the most respected. It's about stepping up to the level of a chief, but also not just saying that I deserve this. It's about earning that respect. And what I found that is leadership is about pressure. It's not about it's about self-discipline. It's about creativity under constraints. And these four books help me realize that not through theory, but through moments in life where I was forced to step up or stay stuck. Getting into my first book is this book here, The Dichotomy of Leadership by Jocko Willink. And I'm going to admit, the first time I read this book, it just did not hit for me. It was a little bit too American, a little bit too Navy SEAL, and I just didn't vibe with, the use of war to get across leadership points. And I truly believe the reason why the first time I read this, which was probably maybe 5, 6 years ago, I just wasn't ready to absorb the lessons that came from great leadership while under pressure. And so the key thing that I got from this book was actually mastering the tension of leaderships between extremes. And so one of the great blessings that I have in my life is my beautiful partner, Jess. We both are, love partners. We're also business partners. And with that becomes a lot of tension because on one side of things, we're trying to work on the masculine energy of growing a business. And then we're trying to run the dynamic of the masculine feminine dynamics as well of running a beautiful relationship. And so this book here, The Dichotomy of Leadership, has actually allowed me to dance that line a little bit better. And it's been really great for me. So one of the key lessons in this is that leadership actually lives in the middle. It doesn't live in the extremes of control or chaos. And I've had the privilege of experience what I deem to be bad leadership, where people are very controlling. They'll put you in a box to make sure that I guess you don't excel to the level that you're potentially capable of. I've seen this a lot in when I worked in a professional career, when I was and part of an office environment. I've seen some crazy stuff there. I've also seen that like when people are in chaos and they're just reacting, they're just primal. In sports scenarios is quite often the case that leadership just does not work if you stay in that chaos. And so leadership actually lives in the middle is knowing when to, use that control, when to mold with the chaos. Every decision in business is a bit of a tightrope. What's the best for the mission, not my ego? And that's been a big lesson for myself personally, especially in our personal relationships and our business relationships. What's the best for the mission right now? That's actually allowed me to give stronger direction at times. And sometimes I believe I've been too soft in my leadership, and understanding that, hey, look, this is what actually needs to happen for this mission to have success has actually been brilliant in terms of, okay, this is the hard direction. This is the hard choice. This is the choice we have to make right now, completely removed of the ego as well. And so that's been a great little lesson there. Tough decisions aren't about being right. They're about what's doing required. Okay. And so that has allowed me to have more a bit of a edge to my leadership. It's also allowed me to know when to back down in my leadership and allow others to take the lead as well. So it's been a beautiful book for me at the right time. So we've had countless moments in business where I've had to ask myself, am I being stubborn or am I standing for the mission? The hardest part is knowing when to yield and when to hold. Okay, so biggest example of this is our communication breakdowns with Jess. You know, us both holding ground. We're both like fucking a couple old rams at times. We will butt heads because we are both strong, determined people who are both trying to do the best for the mission. And that has allowed us to both actually, you know, create this little dance, which has been much more beneficial to the overall goals of what we want to do in this world, and what we want to do with our life. And it has been brilliant. What it has cost me is when I've been too hard on holding the line. You know, I've lost time, energy, momentum, and you know the mission suffered because the ego took over. And so, understanding with this book has been brilliant because it started to make me realize, okay, cool, just step back, think about the mission, remove myself, and think what is the step we should take, the step or the action we should take here, so that you know the mission keeps moving forward, because we don't need 2 weeks where we're stalled, where we're not getting anything done. What can we do right now that is best for the mission? Is that me stepping back, allowing others to move forward so that the whole mission moves forward? Or is that me taking a hard line and taking full responsibility and ownership and saying, hey, look, I need to get this done right now. This is what has to happen. And both of them come with the cost of ownership, the responsibility of ownership, but it's understanding that dichotomy of the relationship and leadership to help the mission move forward. And so it's been a great, great book there. Probably something that you can take away from that is you just simply have to ask, what's right for the mission, not what's right for me. Okay. And sometimes the leader has to sacrifice, sometimes the leader has to push forward. I know for myself and a lot of the people that I've been lucky enough to mentor, we do like to lead by example. But oftentimes, you know, sometimes leading by example is not actually the right option. It's allowing others to lead. Okay, and so know when to give autonomy and then when to enforce accountability. It's actually something that I have taken a lot from this book. Is like, actually, no, right now this is what we have to do. I need to hold you to a higher standard because our mission is suffering because I've been too soft on saying this is what has to happen. Other times I'm like, okay, cool. Here's what world class looks like. This is what I want you to do. Go and do it. I really fucking believe in you and you can go and do this. And I can't wait to see what you bring forth to this. And so that little dance has been absolutely amazing. So big takeaway for this one is like leadership isn't about always knowing. It's about balancing when to bend and when to break. If you lead from ego, you'll lead absolutely nowhere. And then it brings me to my second book, and this is one of my favorite books of all time. Um, in my opinion, it's not necessarily a book on leadership. I'm sure if I was to read it again, I think I've read it 3 times now. I'm sure I'd see it from a different lens now that I'm really, really going deep into leadership. But this book here, Creative Emotion by Design, Creative Leadership Lessons from a Life at Nike. And this is by Greg Hoffman, who was the former chief marketing officer of Nike. And why this book was so great to me, it really opened my eyes and opened the artist in me who loves to see just magic happen. And the behind the scenes of like Nike, he was essentially one of the first people in their team and their company, and to build it and bring this thing to life over the years and the amazing people that worked with. I really, really thought it was a brilliant book. And the key thing that I got from this book is that creativity is leadership. Resourcefulness beats resources. Okay. And one of the beautiful things I really took from this book was that, you know, when you are able to unlock the creativity of leadership, sometimes that leadership becomes beautiful. And I think if we were to take the dichotomy of, you know, Jocko Willink's style of Navy SEAL leadership and then Greg Hoffman's style of creative leadership, I believe that dance in terms of creative leadership and then also extreme ownership, it's just a beautiful flow in terms of harnessing great, great people, which is very, very cool. Key lessons I got from this was one of the chapters in this book was about Kobe's curiosity. And so Kobe Bryant, he's been one of my biggest inspirations, someone I've looked up to a lot in terms of his the Mamba mentality, the way he played the game, but also his constant thirst, his constant drive, and his constant obsession with being great. And what they actually turned that down, what they actually boiled that into was the word curiosity. Kobe wasn't, he was obsessed, but it was because he was extremely curious. He just wanted to know, how does this work? Why are we doing this? What can I do here to make this even better? And that curiosity, that way of him consistently asking more and more questions, that was an absolute secret weapon, not only for Kobe Bryant, but also for Nike when they started to take him on as an ambassador. Because he would ask the craziest things, like, how can we turn this into a snake pattern on my shoes? And what it did is it pushed the whole team, the marketing team at Nike, to stretch creatively, to really push the boundaries and really test and expand on what they thought that was, possible at the time. Another couple of key lessons, and this is something that I've always loved, and it's actually a big reason why I have put such an emphasis on running in-person events in the last sort of 12 months. You actually win hearts by being on the ground, not above people. And, I just love to see people grow, and I love to see people, expand what is possible in their life. And I also just love to see people see what's possible. I can often see what I see in people, but getting them to see it, I think, is amazing. And that's why I think this book really spoke to me, is because when you win the hearts of being on the ground, you win the hearts and minds of the fans. You don't have to market, you don't have to push anything, you don't have to have these crazy offers. You literally, they'll essentially do anything you want because they are bought into your tribe. They will spread that for you, which is cool. Design is a feeling, not a function. It moves people emotionally, and I really thought that was cool. So real life connection to this, like, there were times when we had nothing. Like during COVID, we had to be extremely creative. We had to come up with different ways. We had broken gear. We had, all sorts of shit that's gone on. We've had to just lead with energy and creativity. There's often times we've had no money. We've had times where we've had a shit ton of money and income, and then all of a sudden we don't have much. It's like, how can we be creative, with what we have right now? And it's often turned into some of the coolest, things that we've created. Last year when our gym shut down, we realized that, hey, look, we've actually removed the four walls. What can we do now to impact even more people? And we created our state shifter events, which is, an ice bath and breathwork event on the beach. And when I first seen this, I was like, in my mind, I was just like, I just want to have a sick event where people are just, connected, they're breathing, we're in a mad environment, mad place. And I just want people to see the potential in themselves. And this is where I think the book Emotion by Design, it allows people to unlock the leadership, the athlete, the potential in themselves. And seeing that behind the scenes of what Nike had done from that perspective was absolutely incredible. And another one, the key takeaway from this was, when you're obsessed with the mission, you don't need more resources because you become resourceful. If you can truly be curious about, like, hey, I want to get this message across to the world. I want to impact people in this way, or I want to create this sort of environment within my team, within my gym, my coaching staff, whatever it is. How can we do this with absolutely nothing? Okay, what can we do if we just had $10, a box of pizza, and away we go? And I really love that attitude. And it's been something that I have, I believe has helped me in my life as well. So absolutely beautiful book, one of my absolute favorites. And if the final quote that I want to leave with from this book is, if you can't be seen everywhere, be felt deeply somewhere. And that's why that book, Emotion by Design, really hit really hard. The third book is this book here, Man Up by Bedros Keuilian. Okay, and so I recently went to an event last year, and I was lacking leadership in my life. I felt like I had been let down by a few people. I felt like I hadn't had good leadership around me for a year or so, and I was really looking for someone to give me a bit of direction and a bit of clarity. And at this event, Bedros stood up and he's like, look, fucking own your shit. And he's like, a lot of people these days are just accepting mediocrity. And I was like, holy shit. And when I heard him talk about this, and when he started to unpack, what man up actually means, it means like, it ain't about accepting mediocrity, because mediocrity is easy. This is something that we can all do. We're all accepting it. And it's like, ultimately, if you man up and cut the bullshit, you can actually step up for your family. You can step up for your community. You can step up for things you believe in. And then you can really, really become the man, the woman, the person, the human that you know deep down you can be. And so the key thing to this was radical self leadership. Okay. And so there's three levels of leadership that are very important. First level is self leadership. Okay. If you can't lead yourself, you can't lead others. So this comes down with a set of daily non-negotiables. What standards are you holding yourself to? And I really love this book because it does lay out some great frameworks in terms of self-leadership, defining your daily non-negotiables, holding yourself to those standards, and also connecting a why before it's too fucking late. Something that scares me and it really does terrify me. And sometimes I just know, I was like, I see people, or people have come into my care, and I'm like, okay, cool. They've got, bad health issues. They've got, stuff where they're a ticking time bomb, could have high blood pressure. They could have stuff where, if they don't get it sorted soon, they are going to cut their life short. Freaks me out. I see my dad die too young, and like I just like, fuck, I have the skill set, I have the toolkit to help these people, but they literally have to accept these standards themselves, or they'll run away. And I believe this book is a great one if you're looking for a hard look at yourself and to learn to level up your self leadership. So the key lessons from this is that your calendar, body, and mindset reveal your standards. Whatever is in your calendar is important to you. Okay. If you are, if you say you want to have a great business, is your business development tools in there? If you say you want to work on your mindset, are you doing daily learning on that? Are you connecting with high performance coaches? Are you getting around high performance people? Are you getting in rooms that will push you to have a better mindset? With your body, how much are you training? When are you going to the supermarket? When are you doing your meal prep? What is in your calendar reflects your body and mindset, reveals your standards. You will literally show up with the results that you have because of the standards you set. The other things is understanding fear and controlling that. And when you understand how fear controls you, you can then understand how you react, how you respond, and also how you deal with pressure. Okay. And so in that book, he goes into the fear control framework, and it is a great, great thing. So another section in that book that I found was really, really powerful was his crop duster and his fighter jet analogy. And so his big thing was that most people walk around as crop dusters. Okay, they just float along, they're fucking puttering out shit all over these fields, not really doing fuck all and not living up to their potential. At some point, they get a choice. Do you become a fighter jet? Do you become the pilot of the most deadly, most fucking radical thing that you could ever become, and live yourself to the highest level of standards? Because we all have a high performance vehicle. We all have a fighter jet body, mind, and capabilities, but we decide not to get into that seat. And it really is about taking that and saying, hey, look, I'm going to man up, I'm going to step up, and I'm going to level the fuck up because I have this incredible piece of hardware that I'm not living to its full potential. And I feel like that's a disservice to the world. When this really, really like connected with me is when I had my son, was essentially my initiation. And I see this actually in a lot of young fellas. When I was in my 20s, I was basically floating around. I was a drifter. Didn't really know too much what was going on with my life. I didn't really have too much to lose. Came from, not such a great sort of background, never really like had any money or anything like that. But ultimately I had all the freedom in the world. I also had no responsibility. I had no understanding of what standards were, and I had no real idea of what my potential could be. Then I had my son, and the day that I had my son made me realize that I couldn't look back anymore. I couldn't change direction. I had to fucking step up, stand up. And when it came time to have the hard lessons and the hard conversations or put in the hard work, I could know I now had something to lose. Okay. And I couldn't afford to hide behind myself anymore. And I had to really step up and just say, hey, I need to take responsibility for myself here. I need to raise myself to another standard because this boy deserves more from me. And in the book, Man Up, it's got some great frameworks in there. Okay, so some of the tactical tools in there is your daily non-negotiables, also some not-to-do list. There's fair reframing and a vampire audit. Okay, what is sucking your life? You really need to understand and get that out of your life as fast as possible. A key takeaway would be you're either leading yourself or lying to yourself. There's no in between. That's it. Stop participating in life. You're not here for participation trophies. Great, great book. Final one is one I've read recently, and I'll put this one off quite a lot. It's called Turning Pro by Stephen Pressfield. And why I believe this is a great book at this stage in my life in terms of my own leadership, because it leads in from the others. Man Up was a great book of saying, hey, these are the standards. These are what you can hold yourself to. This is your potential. This is what you can do. Turning pro is about actually fucking doing it. Okay. It's about actually drawing a line in the sand and saying, now is my time to step into these identities, these standards, and actually fucking make it happen. And the key thing to this book is about raising your identity standards and choosing mastery over your mood. Okay. And so, great quote by the great Layla Hormozi is like, fuck your mood, do it anyway. I believe it's something like that, but it's a great quote. Like it really, really is. It's like choose mastery over mood. Sit here and do this. Even this here, I've procrastinated on this, for a few hours today. And I was like, I'm tired. We got shit on. And I'm like, nah, fucking sit in here, create this because it is extremely valuable. People are going to get a lot from this. And it's you turning pro. You said you're going to set the standards of creating this stuff and getting your level of expertise out to the world. Fucking hold it. Go pro. This is what you have to do. And so, probably the key lessons for this. And going pro isn't a single moment, it's a series of daily deaths. And so, the start of this year, I was like, look, I'm going pro. I'm fucking all in. This is what I'm doing. I'm getting after it. And I'd love for that to be just a flick overnight, but it's literally been every single day just saying, okay, cool. How can I be pro in this? What can I do a little bit better? What is the world telling me that this is good or this is bad? And accepting it and sitting in that pocket and doing the work. And that's why I really, really love the previous three books, the dichotomy of leadership. Okay, cool. What's best for the mission right now? The emotion by design. What can we do creatively here to bring this project to life, even though we don't have a lot of resources? How can we unlock and express the passions, the ambitions, and the true fucking amazing humanness of our clients, of our people that we are lucky enough to, help and serve? And how can we share this in a way that allows us to raise the ambition of humanity? Because I believe we're going into a golden era, and we have such incredible tools and a future ahead of us. I think we're just in a bit of a crazy fucking place that people don't really know how to deal with. And so me asking that every single day, it's slowly becoming who I am. Okay. And it's about parts of me dying. It's about, no, okay, bro, you need to, sit where it's uncomfortable. You need to stay focused. You need to laser in on the mission. We can't go off and do extra shit. Little bits and pieces of me have to die. Stuff with my nutrition this year has had to die. It's like, I do love a bit of a butter chicken, and I do love some junk food. And then I'm like, look, that just does not serve me anymore. I have to let it go, let it die. And that has been a work in progress, but it's been better than it's ever been in my whole entire life. And I feel fucking good for it. So just understanding that going pro isn't a single moment. It's a series of daily deaths. And most people are like, want to flip that switch straight away, just sit in that pocket, accept the lessons that are coming with it. But going pro is about literally stepping up every single day. Amateurs seek validation, pros seek repetition and results. Okay. And so that's all it really is like, there's a great quote in this book called the muse favors those um who do the reps. Okay. And so the muse is the person that brings out creative goodness or creative talent. And, often people will sit around waiting for this creative expression where it's like, if you just start writing, if you just put pen to paper, if you just start doing, the muse will show up. Okay. And so pros seek repetition and results. Pros put themselves in rooms where they feel small because growth lives there. Okay. And so often, and I think in a world where we are online and all of this sort of stuff, is like people will just hide in their own little pockets of the world, because it's like, why would you go into a room that makes you feel, like you need to fucking level up, you need to expand, or, you need to grow? And I truly believe those are the greatest rooms you can be in. I've been in some amazing rooms in the last 12, 18 months. And every time I've got in there, like recently I was in a room with one of my mentors, Dane Walker, and I was like, holy fuck, this guy's on another level. He's making 8 figures a year, and he's just doing some really, really cool shit. And I was like almost starstruck. I was like, okay, cool. I need to get myself and elevate myself to this level. And it was a really amazing thing, and it has propelled me in many, many ways, which is exciting. So probably the biggest thing around this is what screams pro. Okay. So the key concept is like, does daily non-negotiables hit even when you don't feel like it? You need to audit your scoreboard, not your emotions. Okay. What am I doing? Am I ticking the boxes that I said I would in terms of my standards? Or am I just letting myself lean into my emotions and letting that defeat, which is you defeating self? You need to fall in love with course correction, not perfection. Okay. And for a lot of our high performers out there, I know that we can get stuck in that perfection mindset. It's like, just take more swings. It's like, when you miss, adjust your swing, go again. Okay. And so the big takeaway from this is going pro is a choice, one you make every single time you don't feel like it. Okay, that's a beautiful, beautiful quote. Going pro is a choice, one you make every single time you don't feel like it. The difference between a pro and an amateur: one waits for inspiration, the other creates it. And that's why I think these two books, or Emotion by Design and Turning Pro, they really speak to the artist in me. And I believe Man Up, in the dichotomy of leadership, gives me the other side of leadership, where it's a little bit more hard, a little bit more down the line, like, this is what we got to do. You also got to understand the mission, you got to do it. And then also how to bring out that artistic flow, that creative juice that creates fucking incredible movements. And so those were my 4 books that have really become the mirror I needed. One showed me that where I was playing small, holding back, or letting comfort lead, and the others were showing me where my blind spots were. So if you feel like you're really wanting to level up your leadership, I do highly recommend them. Some absolutely great and incredible books. If you have read these books, definitely drop your notes or what you took away from those books in the comments. Would love to hear it. And if you're listening to this for the first time, please hit that subscribe, and I'll keep dropping this. Have a good one.